Welcome to Real Talk with Cherri. I'm Cherri Gregg, and this is my community give back during the COVID-19 crisis, where we bring in newsmakers from all across the country to talk about how to not just survive, but to thrive in this new COVID-19 world. And today I'm very honored to have the one and only Benjamin Crump here. He's a civil rights attorney, an author of this wonderful book called Open Season: Legal Genocide of Colored People. He represents the family of Ahmed Arbery. He's one of a team of lawyers representing them, and he has been doing this for a number of years. So I want to say to you, Ben, welcome to Real Talk with Cherri. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Chair, for having me, and I'm very enthusiastic about the opportunity to talk to you. And I want to give a shout out to Attorney Mincy because that's my man.
That's right. And so you, first of all, how are you doing? I know it's very busy right now, but we're dealing with a pandemic. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. My family is safe and sound. I've been home for about 8 weeks in a row now, more than I've been home in a decade. So my little 7-year-old daughter is very happy.
Yeah, she's like, Daddy's home every day.
Yeah.
And so the big case that everybody is talking about is the Ahmaud Arbery case. Footage came out a few days ago, shocking footage, traumatizing footage. How did you get involved with this case? And we'll kind of lead from there.
Certainly. His family called my office to ask me to help them get the killers brought to justice. And I want to say for the record, you know, it wasn't that the police saw the video that made them finally arrest this murderous duo, this father and son who executed Ahmaud Arbery in broad daylight. It was we the people. When we saw the video, it enraged us, and that rage then turned into an outcry for justice. And it was we the people who made them arrest this murderous father and son duo, because we saw that lynching that occurred in 2020, and when we saw it, we couldn't unsee it. And so it is the people who made this happen. So thank you to all the supporters, all the people of goodwill who called, signed petitions, and protested for justice for Ahmaud Arbery.
Yeah, and so what was happening during those 74 days before, what was going on? Because he was shot and killed at one point, and what took so long?
Cherri, it was like they always do. They were trying to sweep it under the rug. Like in Trayvon Martin, when weeks went by, they didn't arrest until there was great public outcry. It's the same situation here with Ahmaud Arbery, because remember, the police saw the video on day one. And either it was because of their incompetence or it was intentional, because Gregory McMichaels had been a former police officer and been a detective with the DA's office for about 30 years, that they let the killers go home and sleep in their bed at night in peace, even though there was probable cause all over that videotape to arrest these murderers. I mean, their allegation that this was a burglary, if you were just a basic police officer, you didn't have to be a highly competent police officer. You could be Barney Five, and you could have said, well, hold on, if he's a burglar, we should see burglar tools, we should see a burglar's bag, we should see a burglar's mask, we should see some evidence of a burglary, but there was none. And they still let them go, took their words of the killer as the gospel, while this young man went to the morgue. They went home to sleep in their beds.
Yeah, and I tell you, when I look at that video and the law, and part of what you do is sort of look at these laws meant to protect people. These guys and the McMichaels, they said that they were trying to effect a citizen arrest here, that they were trying to, that they thought that they had some type of cause to stop him. And could you talk about that citizen arrest law that they're using as a shield here?
Yeah, Cherri, it's asinine. They have on the books in Georgia that if you observe the commission of a crime, that you as a citizen can detain an individual until I guess the police gets there. Even though you have no training in de-escalation, you have no training in conflict resolution, they are saying that you as the citizen have the power to come and police somebody if you believe you observed a crime. And it's such a subjective law, and it's certainly one of those laws, when you think about it, you don't see Black people going out trying to tell white people, I'm going to invoke my right as a citizen of the state of Georgia to conduct a citizen's arrest on you. It's really only these white people who feel they have a right to impose their will and make Black people submit to their will that you see them talking about this citizen's arrest. So it's just asinine. And when you listen to the 911 tape, Cherri, you see and you hear that when the 911 operator asked them, well, what is he doing? What crime is he committing? They don't say anything. She asked twice. Yeah. And that's very telling what they don't say, because they didn't see him committing any crimes.
Mm. And that's the part because you have to see the crime happen. Here, all they saw was somebody running, and they assumed. And I want to go to the video. How was this video the trigger? What you said, it was the people was the trigger. This video went public, right. But why wasn't it the video enough without the people coming in?
You know, I think it was once the video was leaked by their former lawyer that everybody got to see it. It's sad that that video wasn't enough to provoke the police to do the right thing and arrest these murderers, because when you think about Black people every day, we get arrested on far less probable cause than an actual video of us showing a person getting killed with a shotgun. Our ballistics expert tells us that that's one of the most powerful weapons you could ever use to kill a person. I mean, not to be too graphic, but you talk about it goes in, when you shoot a shotgun, several projectiles come out the barrel. When you shoot a gun, only one projectile come out, and they say the entrance wound is like $50. It's as big as $50 when it enters you, and then it expands. And then when it exits your body, because gunshot wounds exit the body, gun wounds, they stay inside the body, but a gunshot wound is going to exit. And they say when it exits the body, it could be as large as a teacup saucer. That's how big it is. And so when we see that video of Ahmaud taking those few steps before he fall, and we see that blood expanding in a circle on his back, that's exactly what our ballistics expert is talking about, the exit wound.
Yeah, and the brutality of it was quite shocking. And so there's differences in what they're being charged with. Georgia is very different from Pennsylvania. And so try to explain how they're able to separate. I mean, because it seems like this was them working together.
Yeah, Georgia doesn't have a hate crime law. Unfortunately, it's one of 4 states that don't have it. The hope is when the Senate convenes on June 26th, that there would be a lot of momentum for the Ahmed Arbery law. That would be a hate crime law finally in the state of Georgia. But they are charged with murder, and they're charged with aggravated assault. And I think the elements are all there. They teach us in first year law school, as Attorney Mitzi would know, about malice aforethought.
Yes.
That is, you know, you have to have evil intent in your mind. And so when they get this shotgun and this .357 Magnum, you have to ask yourself quite literally, what do you think was in their mind? Colin Kaepernick calling me. You have to ask, what was in their mind and so forth when they got in that truck? I don't think it was anything of good intent. Hey, Colin, can I call you back? I'm doing an interview. Okay, yes, sir. Sorry about that.
It's okay. No, that is actually a cool moment.
Yeah, I know he's trying to help with Bianca Taylor.
And we're about to switch over to Breonna. So I just want to note that currently in the Ahmaud case, the DOJ is involved. number one. And there is a African-American woman prosecutor that has been appointed as lead prosecutor to the case.
Yes, and her name is Joyette Holmes. She is the DA for Cobb County, which is in Atlanta, Georgia. And we believe if she zealously prosecutes this case, the evidence is clearly there to get a conviction. We want to look at a change of venue. We don't trust that Brunswick, Georgia area. Too many people have had interactions with the McMichaels father and son duo. And so we just want Ahmed Arbery to get the equal justice that he or any American would deserve.
Yeah. And so now you feel justice is more likely to happen now that Miss
I'm cautiously optimistic, Cherri. I'm cautiously optimistic. You know, this is still America. Our precedence is for 400 years. White people have killed Black people and never been held accountable. So yeah. I'm cautiously optimistic by a lot of the recent high-profile cases that I've handled, my law firm has handled, seeing those convictions. Whether it's Corey Jones in Palm Beach, Florida, that is the church drummer who was broke down on the side of the road, and the police officer in plain clothes, a jean and t-shirt, baseball cap, and a cargo van pulls up on him at 3 in the morning and shoots and kills him. It's the case that was featured in the Super Bowl ad. But by the grace of God, he was on his cell phone talking to the tow truck company, and they recorded everything. And so we could prove that he was lying. And so an all-white jury in that case convicted that police officer and sent him to prison for 25 years. It was the first time in the state of Florida that a police officer had been convicted of killing a Black person in 30 years. Think about that. All the Black people they killed in those 30 years, that was the first time. Florida has 14 million people. You can only imagine how many Black people killed. And then also Marquise McGlockton, in his case, you know, that's another white man trying to impose his will, take the law into his own hands over alleged handicap parking violation. He shot and killed Marquise in front of his 3 young children, his 5-year-old son, his 3-year-old daughter, and his 1-year-old son. And it's such a hard video to watch because after he shoots Marquise, you see him stumble back into the convenience store, and his 5-year-old son is literally reaching out for his daddy, and Marquise falls at his feet. Yeah. And that is the last time he sees his father alive. An all-white jury convicted him and didn't buy his stand your ground argument and sent him away for 25 years. And we all know about Amber Geiger in Texas, and where the jury rejected her argument for allegedly going in the wrong apartment and killing both of them.
So in my mind, this is progress because, and we'll switch. We should talk about Breonna Taylor but one thing I have to say, this is progress from Trayvon Martin, because Trayvon Martin, everybody looked at it as a loss because, you know, George Zimmerman did not go to jail for that crime. But in a way, it sort of opened a door to now we're seeing finally, despite the struggle, progress has been made.
Absolutely. And it's still heartbreaking that the prosecutor did not present a winning case when the evidence was so clear to many of us. But I do think Trayvon Martin was historic and landmark because it really changed the way, it changed the consciousness of America as it related to them killing our unarmed children. And the fact that I do think a lot of these cases reverts back to Trayvon Martin's case.
Yeah. And so let's talk about Breonna Taylor in Kentucky. Tell us about this case.
Yeah, a tragic case. Our firm has been retained to represent the family of Breonna Taylor, who on March 23rd was killed due to a botched execution of a search warrant by the Louisville Metropolitan Police Department. They did not knock or announce anything. She's asleep with her boyfriend at 1 o'clock in their apartment. There's a battering ram that the police used to bust in on their house. The boyfriend actually calls 911 to say they believe their home has been burglarized. He's a licensed gun owner. He has a permit. And so he gets his gun out to protect his home and his woman and his person. But yet, when the police come through the door, he shoots a shot. And then the police from all directions just open fire. They shoot 20 to 30 shots. And Breonna, who is practically naked, is shot at least 8 times. The funeral home director believes she was shot 10 times, said her body was mutilated. And the thing that is so outrageous is the person who was the subject of the search warrant was already in police custody. And so they killed this innocent sister, and for 2 months, they haven't given her family any answers. And so I am arguing and professing, if you ran for Ahmaud, you need to stand for Bree also, because our Black women lives matter.
Yeah. And I got to ask you this. I mean, I understand she was a nurse, soon to be nurse, 26 years old, beautiful young woman, killed by authorities in this case. How important is it for, how does it help when people in Pennsylvania are talking about this? I did my 223, you know, and you hear all the people doing the 223. What does that do for your case and for you?
It is absolutely essential, because they will sweep, as heinous as this execution was of this sister, they will sweep it under the rug if they think nobody cares. So everybody has to be calling to the district attorney in Louisville, telling him they need to charge these officers, calling the police chief saying they need to fire these officers, because if they would have just followed their policies and procedures and not been so renegade and reckless, they would have saw they had the person in custody, and they wouldn't have killed the innocent woman who her mother says was just the light of their family. Her whole goal in life was helping people. She was, think about it, Cherri, she's helping people with the coronavirus. I mean, risking her life, and she doesn't get injured or die from the coronavirus. She gets killed from police brutality while she's sleeping in her bed in the sanctity of her own home. And that's why we got to say her name, Bianca Taylor.
Yeah, and is there a video in this case? Because I know a lot of times, and I know you only have a couple more minutes, this is a situation, I mean, because in a lot of these cases, the smoking gun video, the facts are so compelling. I mean, what do you think will be the change maker?
Unfortunately, there's no video, because these cops were serving this warrant, and so they were in plain clothes too. So how in the world will Breonna and her boyfriend know they were police officers if they didn't announce themselves and they're not wearing police uniforms, and they just come in spraying the whole apartment? In fact, it was so bad that even neighbors who lived in neighboring apartments got bullets in their apartment houses and dwellings. And so it's just outrageous that they would do this to our community and to our sisters, and they don't do this in other communities.
Yeah, and as we wrap up, just tell me, what would justice in these 2 cases look like in your mind?
That the police are going to prison, and the killers of Ahmaud going to prison, because I think until they're held accountable and their liberty is taken from them, they feel that their lives really didn't matter that much. And we can do it again and nothing will happen. And so that's why everybody in Pennsylvania got the tweet and hashtag Breonna Taylor, because her life mattered just like Ahmaud Arbery's life mattered.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Benjamin Crump, for coming on Real Talk with Cherri and for being on Flashpoint. I really appreciate your time and attention.
Hey, thank you to everybody in the city of brotherly love. We appreciate y'all and love y'all.